and Jen are doing great, unbelievable. What else is going on? We are continuing to put together the budget based upon some guesstimates. For the most part, from the state, we're not receiving any clear direction from them as to what to do cuts wise. So we're reducing some things about 10%. That's what I'm anticipating in the state reduction. Melissa, can you think of anything else?
I think just obviously the governor's mandate for face masks. So obviously that goes into place tomorrow. So just working with Jim and also the police to determine, what our approach is regarding that and how we'll enforce it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Thank you. We actually had a phone call with the town council yesterday. She advised us that we can basically treat that as a discretionary. Initially, go up, advise people if they're not practicing social distancing, and keep a close eye on it. We've been distributing out face masks to the departments, made sure the police department has some to distribute out also. So we're trying to stay ahead of the curve on that one, and initially just issue people warnings if there's an issue of some sort.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we're going to look towards our establishments, our restaurants, and our, small businesses that are open to obviously really monitor who's coming into their establishments. Should we receive any complaints, just kind of what we've been doing thus far. Typically, the police will notify us, and our office would, reach out directly to see what's going on and what needs to be changed to make sure that they're in compliance. And should a cease and desist order be needed, we would obviously issue that.
Well, I'm all set because I have my minion face mask. I'm ready to go.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, other than that, I think just again, trying to figure out how we're going to reopen certain items. So I know Jim probably spoke about just kind of working with town hall, how we're opening town hall buildings, working with establishments. We're getting a lot of questions regarding camps and pools. We understand everyone's frustration because there's a lot that goes into the planning process. However, we're not going to get any guidance on camps and pools until May 18th. So I don't anticipate them opening, anytime shortly after May 18th. And I think that will give us kind of a baseline of what to go off of and what to expect.
So I'm saying that the earliest that any town offices and so forth be open to the general public will be after May 18th?
Well, after May 18th, yeah.
It's going to be a phase. It's going to definitely be a stepped process for sure.
Oh, no, yeah. You can't just flip a switch and have everything be wonderful.
We actually put together an advisory team, which is going to consist of myself, Melissa, the police chief, fire chief, a few other department heads to figure out what we need to do to make sure that town hall, town offices are ready to go and people are protected, our staff, whenever the public comes back in there. So we're going to have a plan in place that we can share with you. Probably next week we should have something drafted up, and we'll seek your input.
So obviously the numbers are up, but that's to be expected with increased testing going on. At least it doesn't seem to be climbing exponentially, which is always a fear when you start doing an awful lot of testing. But
yeah, so this time last week we had 168 cases, and then yesterday we had 181. We received one yesterday, and then we received one additional one today.
So it's 180 human beings that are affected, but growing by less than 20 in a week is probably certainly it's not a negative sign.
Right. Compared to a couple of weeks ago, definitely.
Yeah, it may not be enough of a data point to be able to say that it's definitely a solid trend, but growing by under 20 in the week is certainly good. So all we can do is keep doing what we're doing. All right. Yeah. Anything else from the town perspective, Jim, that we need to be aware of?
No, I just thank you for having me on each week. And does anybody from the Board of Health have any questions for me before I go off?
I
just wanted to say thank you, Jim, for your email to me regarding the farmers market.
Oh, no problem. That's going to be on the next selectmen's agenda. And that is one of the essential services that's allowed. So we'll have that in there and we can start to plan for it.
All righty. All right,
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
week.
All
We'll
right,
see
good
you. See you next Monday.
You bet. Thank you.
Take care. All right. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the April 21st meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, or deletions to that? It was obviously very short minutes.
Carol has one correction. So under the household hazardous waste paragraph, towards the end of the minutes, on the second line down, it says known to the town on varies. So it should be various platforms.
Oh, okay. Good. All righty. Anything else from anyone? We'll entertain a motion then on the minutes.
I'll make a motion in regards to the April 21st, 2020 minutes. The Board of Health approves the minutes as amended.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Maybe 4-0-0. Minutes are approved as amended. And then we've got an update on Burns Avenue. They're going to put in a second means of entrance and egress and want to make the project a little bigger and the units a little bigger.
Yep, so that's pretty much like the main takeaway is that they're going to have an additional egress. And then that makes it also easier to bring in utilities to the location. So then less work needs to be done in that waterfront area, that northern corner.
So
And
they're
that
coming
those
in
are like
on,
the major changes from the last time that you saw this plan.
we'll be coming in off of Brook Lane on Union Street as well as,
As Burns
Avenue,
Ave, which
okay.
is off of Pleasant.
yeah, no, it's right across the street. And they've added some units too, if I recall.
Yep.
From the note. Yeah.
For a total of 40. I think prior it was 36. 36.
36 or 40, and they're making them a little bit bigger.
Yes, a little wider.
But other than that, I mean, our past comments regarding lighting and sidewalks and so forth, there's nothing that we need to update or change, is there? Do you see any other Board of Health impacts from the changes they want to make?
Nothing. I feel like pretty much what was said before with because there is some work in the buffer zone and then the lighting, sidewalks. And I know you also had mentioned putting stoplights at the intersection of Burns Ave and Pleasant Street. I'm still pretty new to Walpole, so I don't know now that they've added that entrance onto Brook Lane. I don't know how busy Union is. I didn't know if that was maybe something that you want to advise to have there as well.
Union's a main cut through from Route 1 to Washington. It's probably at least as busy traffic wise as Pleasant Street is, at least in the morning and the afternoon commute times. If nothing else, if they're not going to do a traffic light per se, I think they at least need to look at putting up some stop signs. Not the one at the corner of Pleasant and Union does any good. People are running through that all the time. But yeah, I think they definitely need to do something to make sure that people just aren't pulling in and out of Burns or in and out of Brook Lane without stopping. So yeah, at the very least, I think they should have some stop signs. But is that the highway department or is that us, or it's probably not a health issue?
Yeah, it's a public safety concern, obviously. But we could definitely bring it up. We brought things that are public safety up in the past.
No. So maybe then I'll make a motion regarding the proposed changes to the Burns Ave project that our prior comments remain in effect, and that the additional means of entrance and egress to the area raise the issue of appropriate traffic control with, at the very least, stop signs before people can enter into either Pleasant Street or Union Street. That should be brought to the attention of either the police department or the highway department, or whoever, or whatever appropriate area in the town is responsible for that sort of thing.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 4-0-0. I think that's everything that was, oh no, I'm sorry, we have that late addition about appointing the police officers as Board of Health agents? Or
Yeah, so
a
you
letter
said
of
that, so I
understanding?
don't necessarily know if we need a motion for it, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. So I don't necessarily know if it's required to do. I think obviously we kind of have an agreement in place, but I think if it makes the police more comfortable, then I think I'm totally okay with signing something like that. They've been very gracious so far, where if we received any complaints, if they were out and about, they would obviously take action if needed, or again, report back to our office, and then we would take the proper measures to enforce. So I see it more probably happening with face masks, just for the pure fact that it's kind of like right in that very moment. It's nothing that, if they were to call us and then we were to call them and then go out, I think it would be a missed opportunity. So
Right.
I think this would be a proactive approach.
But they still should be enforcing we're not enforcing yet the face mask in the town of Walpole, right?
Wednesday, it goes into effect. So tomorrow, the governor made it a requirement as of last Friday. So it does go into effect for all 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth effective tomorrow.
Okay, so the police department's power as Board of Health agents would be just to make sure social distancing is applied and face masks are worn? Is this
Correct.
So this is mandated for everyone, children, adults, everyone,
So
right?
there are some exceptions. I can send you guys the language, but obviously if they have underlying health issues, they're not required to show documentation that they have it. It's just saying that they have something. And then children under 2.
Right, children under 2, and then if you've got a health issue that a mask would cause a problem with, you can get out of that. But I certainly have no problem having the board make a formal motion that we, at the very least, support or are pleased with and support the cooperation between the Public Safety Department and the Board of Health, and that we look forward to them working more closely with us if that is needed. But if you don't need a motion, or do you just need us to?
I think a motion's good. It definitely.
Sort of a motion that we approve of it, and that we approve of you signing the agreement with the police department to have them act as agents of the Board of Health.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll make that motion then, that the Board of Health supports and is encouraged by the cooperation between public safety and the Board of Health, and indeed all of the town departments, and that we authorize Melissa to formalize that agreement with the police department so that they can act as agents of our board during this pandemic.
Well said. I'll second it.
I'll second it.
All right, motion's made and seconded again. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Did I hear an aye from Carol?
Yes.
I did, okay.
Aye.
4-0-0. Yes, Mona.
One more question. So if someone is working out like in their yard, like in your front yard, backyard, are we going to be required to wear the face mask?
That's private property, so I feel like you really can enforce. Should you be having like a party on your property and no one social distancing, then potentially the police might be called, but something like that.
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to common sense, personally, and I think,
Oh, hey,
you're
Richard.
in a situation that,
Sorry, I keep
you're
having
not
trouble
social
dialing in.
No, it's okay, Richard. Because basically the order requires you to wear a mask if you're in public and you cannot social distance. So if you're walking down the street and you're the only one on the street, you probably don't need to have a mask on. If you're walking in an area where there's an awful lot of people, then yeah, you probably should be wearing one. And certainly if you're going into a drugstore or a grocery store or something like that, you more than likely should be wearing one, because it's almost impossible, even though they do a very good job of marking out where 6 feet are. I was at the CVS in Town Center last night, and you you wait in line, but the very last place where you're waiting in line, when the person finishes the transaction in front of you, they're walking right in front of you, like a foot away. Very poor traffic flow. So, so no, I think a lot of it, you're absolutely right, Melissa. It's just common sense.
And Melissa, this is Steph. I have a quick question regarding the dates on your memorandum. It says May 1st, and then the date right after that says April 18th. Should that be May?
That's good. So I will double check that before I sign it.
I didn't even catch I just scanned it very briefly, but I didn't catch that date. Good call. All right, anything else that we need to deal with tonight?
I do want to just have a little discussion regarding the FDA tobacco violation for Vape City.
Yeah.
So Carol had sent me an email, and I know we spoke shortly before the meeting, but I didn't address this. So the violation that the establishment previously had was last year. So it was in May of 2019, not this year. And the reason there was such a delay, as you could see in the email chain from Sarah, is that's just how the FDA does it. So we don't get the results as quickly as if we were to do the compliance check on our own. So unfortunately, there's really nothing that we could have done given the fact that we've really received it. I mean, their violation date, they had the inspection on the 26th of February. We just received it yesterday, or no, 2 days ago, whatever it was, so last Thursday. So unfortunately, there's really nothing that we can do, which is so frustrating because I feel like technically this is their second offense within a 3-year window. As you saw from the email, they definitely recommend or urge the individual to come in front of the board so that we can let them know that we are aware of this violation and we want to know what they're doing to prevent it from happening.
Yes, I agree too.
They didn't admit that at our before the ballot and making very clear that this is not going to happen again.
So Carol,
when they appeared before us was awful.
But this violation that they got was after when they came in front of us.
It was after?
Yeah, so their violation that I'm speaking of now was just in February of this year. The violation that they came in front of the board was actually last May. Yeah, that's okay.
So Melissa, have they had any stings where they've passed?
I mean, they've only been open like a year?
Well, this is what I'm saying. They've only been open
Yes.
a year, and the 2 times that we've had someone go in there, they've sold to minors. I mean, I know for a fact they're selling to minors. They're selling to my daughter's friends. Like, it's
So I think
maddening.
what we can do on our part is implement another compliance check that we do. So then that way, should they sell to a minor, realistically, they would have to adhere to our violation fees as well as suspension of their license.
It's just so frustrating. He can come and sit in front of us. He's lying to our face. He might as well come and laugh in our face. It's really very frustrating.
I agree, especially because there's really nothing that we can do aside from saying, what are you going to do? So I feel like it kind of makes us look like we're not a powerful board.
Why would he come in? There is nothing we can do, and he knows it. And this is why they're doing it.
I agree.
So
What's the early time?
we can't count this FDA violation as a second violation of the town regulations, no?
We can't, no. We can't. Like she said, potentially we could take it to court, but it wouldn't really have any teeth. It wouldn't stick. They would throw it out, and which is like frustrating because I feel like what's the point of doing it? And given this is their first FDA inspection, they're really just going to get a slap on the wrist of this is a warning, and that's it. There's going to be no monetary penalty, no suspension of a license.
Well, and maybe we do need to see if we can do a town compliance check with them.
When would the earliest be that they could open back up?
So they're obviously non-essential. So right now we're waiting for guidance as of the May 18th date, and it depends on what they're going to allow, what they're not going to allow.
Do they have to notify, or is there any kind of process they have to go through, or we can make them go through so we know when they start selling, and that'll kind of give us a shot to get in there and do some auditing? Because I agree, if they've only had 2 audits and they failed both of them, one from us, one from FDA, that's I mean, I remember him coming in, and that was one of the big pushes we had about.
Right, he
them
fired the employee, blah,
And they
blah,
were
blah.
having a system put in place, a ID checker.
I mean, we shut down other operations, other businesses for using them as a case, saying this should be what the standard is for compliance because they're only selling to adults, and now we fail twice. I mean, we're gonna look pretty bad if we don't kind of keep a tight rein.
I definitely agree. So in regards to your question, I mean, we definitely have a close watch on what businesses are open and what aren't. So we'll definitely know when they're allowed to open, and we can move forward with a compliance check. However, I don't know how the board wants to handle it. I mean, we can request them to come in as early as next week, which would be May 12th. It's just frustrating because I feel we really can't say anything except for like a slap on the wrist as to this is, we're disappointed. What are you going to do? And like Rachel said, they're just going to say exactly what they said last time. So
Right.
Let's do another compliance check at the earliest possible time, and let's see what comes from that. Because I would have no problem. I wouldn't feel very bad about them being hit with $1,000 fine for
Absolutely.
for violating.
Yeah, we should monitor them closely and just send them, do a compliance check if they pass, just keep following it up,
Sure, which we definitely can. So do we want to have them come in front of the board? Do we want to wait until they open and do a compliance check and see what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Well, can we do both?
Oh yeah, definitely.
They open, but that's just mine.
Get on their case, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's reasonable if we notify them tomorrow that they have to appear for next Tuesday via a Zoom call. I think that's enough notification.
Yeah.
If you agree.
I agree.
Definitely.
Okay.
Are they under any obligation to appear?
Fine with me. Gus being, I would think that if they chose not to appear without good explanation, we could take action against them.
I think in the sense where, yes, we didn't conduct the FDA compliance check. However, they are a licensed establishment and they do receive a permit under the health department. So I think, yes, I agree with you, Bill. I think it'd be in their best interest to report.
Yes, and because we did get notified from the FDA, it's not that they did their check and that's it, that's their part,
Right.
The fact that they notified us that we have to do something about it.
Let's be the 19th. Give them 2 dates.
The 12th and the 19th.
Can't be busy every Tuesday night, right?
Sure.
I mean, tell me we prefer the 12th, but if that doesn't work, then we'll have them on the agenda on the 19th.
Okay.
Okay, great.
That sounds good. And then to provide a little normalcy into everyone's life, we do have actually a few plans on the agenda for next week. So we're going to have 3 septic variances from Mr. Glossa. And then we have 5 plans that we were given today. However, they're not really looking for comments until the 25th of May. So Rika and I will go through them and see kind of how we can prioritize, kind of maybe leave them out between 12th and then again on the 19th.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
And any updates on the poster and video contest?
Yeah, so I actually am working with Nancy Carroll, who's the teacher the IT teacher who did all of the digital posters. So we're working on digital certificates and seeing how she's working on kind of like the video montage to show or to display all of the entries, and then just trying to figure out between myself, Bridget, and Chief Carmichael if we can do something kind of like this, a Zoom kind of award presentation. So hoping to have it done by the end of May, just because I feel like school's going to be wrapping up and it's something to look forward to for the kids. So, and then obviously we would mail out any prize monies that were awarded to the individual students.
Okay.
Excellent.
And I had one more question in regards, I know like the coalition is not meeting right now, but would it be an option for the future to have like a Zoom meeting, for example?
I think definitely. So we just started doing that. We're going to start at the end of this month, our MRC, our Medical Reserve Corps Steering Committee. So obviously originally, the health department was, I would say, spread pretty thin for the most part. So now I think everyone's kind of getting acclimated to the new normal. So I would definitely encourage doing a coalition meeting. We can try it out to do, at least the core group that meets regularly and see where it takes us.
Sure.
Typically,
Sounds
we
good.
don't meet in the summer, so I mean, we can try to do it maybe before the summer, starts, but if not, we'll definitely pick back up in the fall.
Sure.
So the Home for Little Wanderers, we're still working with representative from the Home for Little Wanderers. So they did reach out to us. We spoke with the CEO, myself and Jim last week, and we spoke with town council. So just kind of working through some items. They did have inspections done last week regarding the missing items for the building department, as well as fire alarm inspections. So those have been conducted.
Melissa, I had a question. Remember when you sent the email to Siemens, the COVID-19 diagnostic tests?
Oh, sure.
So do we know if they're going to be making PPEs too, or just the diagnostic tests?
I don't know. I know originally Chief Bailey had let me know that they were doing fit tests for the N95 masks for the fire department, but I don't know if they're, creating PPEs. I'm not aware of that, no.
We request that they would make that, or that's...
I can reach out to the individual who sent the original email, and Gary, just to see if it's something that's in their view, or if they'd be able to.
Who's that? Mike Cannery, I think. Is he the vice president?
I don't know. I know I work with Gary a lot over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be helpful if
Sure.
if we know that there's a company in town manufacturing these, because the tests, I know they're going to be having 25 million tests by the end of June, they said.
That's what they said. Yeah.
Okay. It's just like I'm concerned about rushing into making the tests, into making the vaccinations, because they've had a lot of false positive and false negative. So I'm not sure how accurate these tests are in, just come up and say, oh, we're going to be making 25 million tests every month starting June. I don't know. I feel like pharmaceutical companies are kind of rushing into making these, whether it's, vaccinations or diagnostic tests. I don't know. The former FDA commissioner recommended, he said, if you get tested for COVID-19 and it comes back positive, he recommends highly to do it a second time and a third time too, because we wouldn't trust the first test results.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Oh, to be fair, the project that the Siemens folks are working on is not a vaccination. It is a
Diagnostic test.
It's a serology test, so it's looking for antibodies. It's not a test to see if you have COVID. It's a test to see if you have antibodies. And my understanding is that both the specificity and I forget what the other term is, are well above 99.5%, if not higher. So there's very few false positives and very few false negatives. But I'm also somewhat partial, depending on them for my livelihood. But I mean, the information that I've seen coming out of Siemens on it is that they are being as rigorous as they can to make sure that it's exceptionally accurate and does not give any false negatives. I mean, the false negative is the big thing. False positives you can always retest for, but a false negative can give you a sense of security that you shouldn't have. So,
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll see. We'll see.
And just to jump in real quick, like the PCR test that tests to see if you have COVID or not, which like Bill was saying is different from testing for the antibodies. What we're hearing from the state is that it's actually very sensitive. So the PCR test, when you're testing a symptomatic person, I think is fairly accurate. But I do believe that antibody test, there have been a variety out there. And they were still trying to figure out which one.
There's a lot out there that are not particularly good.
Exactly. But the PCR to test symptomatic, I think, is pretty accurate.
So,
Yeah, it's very accurate.
yeah. So is there anything else that we need to be aware of tonight?
I think that's it. We'll see everyone on May 12th.
And we'll have some septic variances.
We will,
nice.
yes.
John
All righty.
will join up. Been here for a long time.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All
So
right,
moved.
motion's made. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 500. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next Tuesday
Thank you all. Take care.
at 7:30. Take care.
7:30.
Thank you.
Good night.